What's up, everyone? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points. And one really important way that you can support our show is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. One of those places where you can subscribe, and we highly encourage it, is on Apple Podcasts. If you visit qpnt.net/Apple Podcasts. You could subscribe to the show and listen to all of the episodes. And please leave us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points, and leave us a review. We really want to hear from you, and it helps to spread the word about the show. It's that simple. Thanks so much for tuning into Q Points, and thank you so much for supporting us. Have a great
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Y'all caught me in mid-church clap. I'm sorry about that. Hey, welcome back to Q Points. I'm DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay the Third.
And you're joining us for another episode of Q Points, a visual podcast and your safe space for meaningful discussion about black music, bliggity black music, and the bliggity black artists that we love. Thank you so much for joining us. J Ray, how are you? How are you doing?
You know what? I am glorious, Sir Daniel. I had a really good presentation today. Let me tell y'all something. When it be going smoothly and everything just works the way it's supposed to work and them transitions is cute, I had that kind of day. How are you, Sir Daniel?
Listen, I left work early today to handle some personal stuff, which was awesome because I got to not be around work for the rest of the afternoon. And I'm not going in tomorrow either, so my weekend has started early. I am looking forward to I'm doing a block party.
Oh, where? When? What's happening?
So on Saturday, my sister Peppermint Gaddy and I are going to be tag teaming the turntables as we do vinyl sets at the Skylark Apartments.
Okay.
In Atlanta. They have a block party / open market at their at the apartment complex, and she and I will be providing the vibes for the afternoon. It's from 1 to 4. It should be really dope. The weather's supposed to be awesome this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. I have like a bucket list of places that I want to spend. and a block party is just one of them. Just being out there, and their records. When I think block party,
oh yeah,
that I think of, and best believe they're in my sets.
Okay, I cannot wait. Please, I'll be watching social media. So it's open. So is it open to the public?
It is absolutely open to the public. Yes.
Okay. Oh, Carlton mentioned, dang it, I have to work. So sorry about that, but I'm gonna definitely be supporting you from afar. You know, I would be there if I was in town. Yes. So that should be dope.
It should be dope. I'm looking forward to it. So another thing that I'm looking forward to is this coming Monday. ABC is doing a special on the real women of hip hop, and it's got all my girls in there. Like everybody, the people that I'm looking at the promo, and I'm like, oh, okay, there she is. Good. And there they are. Okay, good. Because it's high time. Yes. And I love the fact that they've reached out to just about everybody that should be a part of that conversation. And in honor of that,
what we doing?
We got something really cool coming up, but I don't even want to say nothing about it yet. but we got something special for our Q Points insiders.
Yes. So what you need to do is you need to head on over to qpoints.com. I know I already eased that into the chat, but head on over to qpoints.com. I actually put the link to become a Q Points insider in the Facebook, and I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat. Become a Q Points insider because it's all about exclusive content that only our insiders can get, and you can get it right on our website because we got you like that.
Absolutely. So we are here at this point in the show. So J Ray, the way the show came about, I was accosted. I was hunted down by one of our friends and coworkers, and they cornered me and was like, "Listen, I need you and J Ray to get on the case because I need to know what's going on with Rosie Gaines." And I was like, you know what? It's so funny. We are talking about, I told him it's so funny that you mentioned her because we are talking about careers that kind of stalled.
Right.
That were on an upward trajectory.
Yep.
And like had everything going for them, but stalled, kind of flatline. And when he brought her up, I was like, you know what? Rosie Gaines had it going on. She was affiliated with Prince.
Yep.
She, to this day, Diamonds and Pearls is like both Prince and her voices ring throughout that song. That song solidifies her in like the cultural fabric of music. So I was like, yeah, we do need to kind of touch on Rosie Gaines, and things haven't, no pun intended, things haven't always been rosy for her in the past few years.
Right. And you know what else is interesting as we jump into this? I didn't even mention this in our pre-talk before the show. Last week, you know how you just end up in a YouTube hole? I ended up in a YouTube hole and landed on a video talking about what happened to Tara Kemp.
Another one. Yes.
I play the video. Tara Kemp, white R&B artist, Just Want to Hold You Tight, hot joint, like 1990. Here's what's funny. There's a Rosie Gaines connection. Tara Kemp was basically discovered by Rosie Gaines. Tara Kemp was singing backup in a band that Rosie Gaines was fronting.
I do remember that vaguely. Yes. Yep. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So it's funny that we're having this talk and Rosie Gaines is kind of in the universe. And shout out, you know, every time this happens, every time we do something with Q Points, I'm so glad we are talking about Sister Rosie Gaines right now, because we have to do that. We have to remember these artists. And so thank you to your coworker for saying that we need to get on the case of searching for Rosie. I did find something, if you want me to talk about that now.
Certainly. I do want to acknowledge Quadras in the chat. He's mentioned that if we wanted to know if we knew that Ro James is Rosie Gaines' nephew.
I did not know that.
That's why we love you guys, because look, we're here.
Yep.
We're here. We're all audiophiles. We're music nerds. We love all this kind of stuff, and that's what we're all about. Share that information. I did not know that. Thank you, Quadras.
Thank you so much for that. And so when Sir Daniel was like, we need to get on the case of Rosie Gaines. Rosie Gaines hasn't been really public in many years. Yeah. She's been quite ill. In fact, and Carlton mentioned this in the chat, that, you know, the MPG crew put together a GoFundMe. This was back in 2000. Well, we first learned of her being ill in 2014 and 2015. It had gotten really bad. By 2018, actually, and I'm going to put the link in the chat for this over on YouTube and over on Facebook. Her daughter, along with some of the other New Power Generation fam, put together a fundraiser called Love for Rosie. This is a link to a podcast that Rosie Gaines' daughter, Toya Gaines, who's also a singer. I'm going to put Toya Gaines' Instagram in the chat as well. But Toya gives a little bit of insight of what her mom had been dealing with over the last several years and was really bigging up, one, holding space for, we have to go back to a show that we did when we talked about diabetes and health. Yeah. Rosie Gaines had, you know, been suffering from diabetes that has had a really, and she has been dealing with it for years, but also as a performer, it's been tough, right? You know, to be able to be on
Yeah.
stage and also taking care of your health and also making, and then Prince's death had an effect on her. The daughter talks about all of that. So I want to do a plug for health, checking in on ourselves
Mm-hmm.
with our healthcare providers for a second. But in this podcast that I put the link in the chat, Toya Gaines talks a bit about what her mother had been going through as they were preparing for a fundraiser in 2018.
And were you? I'm sorry.
No,
Is it
you.
throwing to me?
No, yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. I thought you were about to play a clip. My bad.
No.
But no, but I was reading something that Quadras just put in the chat, regarding her actual full length album release, which came out, and I think it's important to mention that yes, these artists can sing, but when it comes to the public's response to their debut work, it doesn't always translate.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Rosie Gaines has that voice. It's not just R&B, it's rock. It's
Mm-hmm.
all those different things. And I'm pretty certain the audience, like Quadras is saying, the audience didn't really take to that album
Mm-hmm.
the way people thought they were. And that usually has an effect on the way people's careers, the trajectory of their career takes
Yep.
off after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the first single I was a fan of. Of course, I can't remember the name of it at this moment because I'm in the middle of the show. If somebody knows the name of the single from Rosie Gaines' solo record, After Diamonds and Pearls, please drop it. But I remember being really into that song. And I don't remember the full length. But yeah, it was one of those. And we were also going back to what we had talked about a couple of shows ago, Sir Daniel. The industry had a way of deciding what types of women should be out front. And Rosie
Yes.
Gaines' solo record came along at a time when you had to look a certain way and have a certain kind of look. I Want You, Yes, was the name of the track Carlton just put. But the industry had Rosie wasn't fitting into that mold. She had the voice, she had everything. She could write, she could play, she could sing, checked all the boxes. But I could also see the industry like, we don't know what to do with her is the thing that they always say.
Yeah, again, you know, having to shoot her from the neck up, and you know, those kinds of things, because she's a voluptuous woman.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. And I just really wish the best for her, and that, you know, the GoFundMe is successful for
Mm-hmm.
her and her family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, speaking on the new power generation, we can't talk about careers that at such a tender age of what, 10?
Yeah, he was young. He might have been a little old, but he was young.
Super, he's like a year or two, maybe around your age,
Mm-hmm.
like a year or so behind us. But Tevin Campbell,
Yeah, man.
also a part of that, you know, Quincy Jones and Prince and New Power Generation era, you know, Graffiti Bridge.
Yes.
One of my favorite records from the Boys in the Hood soundtrack is Just Ask Me To.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin Campbell was that dude at such a young age. I don't know if y'all remember this, but Quincy Jones has something called the Sony Innovator.
Yep.
That gave us I'll Be Sure. It
Mm-hmm.
also gave us Tevin Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Tevin just had that, at that age, people were comparing him to Michael Jackson
Mm-hmm.
because they had that similar voice.
Yeah.
You know, he just had it going on. He had the stuff. He had the juice.
Absolutely.
You know, appearances on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yep.
What more could you ask for?
Yep.
And then it just all took a turn.
Literally 1996. Let's just talk about it. 1996. The Back to the World album was hot.
I love that song.
The Back to the World album was hot. But
the Box Braids were not.
the There is, and you know what? Okay, so Michael Gibson, who some of you may know, I'm going to put a link to L. Michael Gibson's article in the chat right now on YouTube and Facebook. Michael Gibson wrote a piece called The Curious Case of Tevin Campbell, which really tracked Tevin's story. And this is on the, oh, let me do a plug for The Reckoning. I am creative director for a online publication called The Reckoning, which is published by CNP, or the Counter Narrative Project. Please make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter. We got something real hot coming on Tuesday too. So get on that newsletter, you know, The Reckoning. So, anyway, back to the world, 1996. There is a way that when people are children, particularly boys, where it's okay to show up in a particular way, but as you age, then you get slapped on the hand. You can't be this. And that 1996, that image of Tevin Campbell in 1996, the public decided that they needed to smack Tevin Campbell on the hand, and that went crazy. That it started to get wonky after that. That was a crazy time.
Yeah, there, you know, as always with all male performers, you know, if you don't fit a certain bill, if you don't give off a certain energy, people start questioning. Rumors start swirling around. And which led to another blurb in his career in 1999, you know, which was an infamous incident with an undercover police officer. That, I think that just kind of pushed him to, okay, that's it. I'm done with the industry.
Yep.
You know, I'm done with the industry. You know, there's alleged stories of substance abuse. You know, he was probably dealing with a lot of very personal things. And that's the thing about that. The industry doesn't care about, or it shows that it doesn't care about your well-being as a person. You're a commodity. You know, they don't care what kind of personal problems you have, what issues you have. As a matter of fact, it adds to it.
Yep.
You know, we've had many discussions on how a lot of our favorite rappers passed away because the record label supplied them with the drugs that they were being strung out on. You know, so, and not saying that was what happened to Tevin, but I can only imagine. Can you imagine what 1999? I was in my mid-20s. He's in his early 20s, I'm supposing. None of us have had the answers in our early 20s. Can you imagine the spotlight being on you because you're a celebrity and you're going through real life issues? You know, you have real life needs, real life things happening to you, and they just get magnified. And if you're not ready for it, it can really take you out of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Tevin Campbell, we just talked about, right? He literally grew. He went through puberty in front of us.
Yeah.
I remember puberty. I look at my 9th grade high school pictures and are like, what was going on? What was happening? It was life happening, and this person had to grow up in front of all of that. Yeah. And who can you trust? Who can you talk to? I'm
pretty certain the phone stopped ringing at some point when stories started coming out, you know.
Yeah. And I am happy that he is at the point where he can enjoy knowing that we still love him. Like, we still love a Tevin Campbell, and now he can still perform. I mentioned to you before we got on, I saw a recent performance. He was on some TV news show, and he was preparing for a performance that night, and he did Can We Talk flawlessly. I said, Tevin better sing this song, and they reworked the melody in a way that was like, oh, thank you for not just doing it straight away. It was like a jazzy version of it. Yeah. Went off.
Listen, you took me back when you said 8th grade, 9th grade. You can't tell me that you did not in your graduation that y'all did not sing "Tomorrow" by Tevin Campbell. Tevin
Who
Campbell, who's gonna sit up here and lie to us and say you did not sing "Tomorrow will bring a better you, a better me" at your graduation? Don't sit up there and lie and say that you did not sing that song. And yes, Can We Talk? Can We Talk is a perfect end of the night song to play in any DJ set. It is the perfect sing-along song to round out the night. It still rings off to this day.
Yep.
And so hats off to Tevin Campbell. I love that. I love that how the new generations are discovering him, right?
Yes.
Because of Black Twitter, because of his activity on Twitter. He's a clapback king.
Don't play with Tevin Campbell on Twitter.
Because some people were trying to act like he wasn't the GOAT in the 90s. Like y'all aren't going to do that to Tevin. He's not going to allow that, and I love that and I appreciate that. And so yeah, more Tevin Campbell. We need to see more Tevin Campbell in the nearby future. And I love it. And Tevin Campbell again is just one of those we talking about when you come out into the industry as a young person, and people are getting famous off of you.
Yeah.
I think about Foxy Brown.
Ooh, man. Oh, man. Boogie.
We've had this conversation, you and I, about how dirty, I'm going to say how dirty Foxy Brown has been done in the industry. Granted, Inga has done some things. Inga has done some things that weren't cute. She's gotten herself involved in some things, some instances that weren't cute. But I just think about how at 14, 15, homegirl is spitting like a dude.
Yeah.
Her voice is, when she appeared on LL Cool J, the remix for I Shot Ya. Who Shot Ya? Mm-hmm. And people thought she was a young boy. They thought they thought she was like Big L or somebody, a young kid on it. And then it was like, nah. In the video, she came out in the midriff.
With the hand gestures.
She was the hand gestures, grabbing her tetas, she said. And she's like, yo, I'm a little brown skin thing here and rapping. And that began our love affair with Foxy Brown. And again, other people in the industry tagged onto that, and their careers blew up.
They are almost, one of them is almost a billionaire now. You know what I mean?
Almost, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I did say it was I Shot Ya, and I was thinking of Biggie and Who Shot Ya. Yeah, man. People, and Sir Daniel, you actually schooled me to this because I hadn't really thought about it in this way. But you were like, look at how Foxy, look at the dudes and how they were moving when Foxy was moving with them, and then what happened after. And I was like, you are absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? Like, Foxy was the one that you could, Carlton just put in the joint, that Touch Me, Tease Me joint. Like, you could put Foxy on a track and that was going to be it. Like, all right, Fox is on this track.
Yeah. A series of features that really took other people's records to new heights. Mm-hmm. And just the fever behind her, the lust behind her debut album, had people sitting on the edge like, she can't, here's this young girl, 15, 16 years old, boasting with all the sexuality and flaunting it. And the music was hitting too. It was like, it wasn't like she didn't have the rhymes to back it up and the delivery to back it up. She did come out at the same time. Oh, we can't not talk about this, her coming out at the same time as Lil' Kim.
Yep.
And how their careers have shared the same. They ran parallel for a minute, but of course the industry divided them. Yep. And listen, did you hear that somebody leaked a clip? I forget who it was, if it was Just Blaze or somebody, or was it for somebody leaked a clip of the famed Thelma and Louise record,
Really?
the legendary Thelma and Louise record that Foxy and Kim was supposed to work on. I have to look it up. Somebody leaked that,
Wow.
a clip of it, and of course, and it just made you think of, damn, what could have
What
been?
could have been? Can we hold space for something too as we have this conversation because you mentioned it?
Go ahead.
Foxy was really young, y'all.
Very young.
Foxy was a teenage girl. We're talking 16, 17 years old, rapping these highly sexual lyrics, wearing these hypersexual clothing. Like, these are things, of course, I didn't think of at the time because, I was also, I'm 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not thinking at that point. But now that I'm older, I'm like, this was a babe. This was a baby, and she needed to be taken care of. And I do wonder if the trajectory of her career went the way it went because she didn't have people around her that were looking after her at a time when she needed to be looked after. I don't know the answer to that, but it just makes me think that was a crazy thing. I'm like, she's like young.
That was a crazy era. Hey, what's up, Shaniqua? Okay, so Shaniqua, I am so glad you are here, Shaniqua. Shaniqua and I used to work at HMV together, and Shaniqua, stay tuned because I'm going to share a story that I know you're going to remember at some point. But that song, the Thelma and Louise record, was leaked on Fat Joe's Live, and it was Ringo Rashad Smith, who was part of
Remember?
the Bad Boy Camp, had that record. Can you imagine sitting on that record for almost 30 years and never saying anything about it? I would have printed up so many CDs. I would have been outside the club saying, "Look, I got that unreleased Foxy Brown and Lil Kim."
Ringo, if you could just, Kill Points just want to hear it. We just want to hear it. I love some new. What could have been, Sir Daniel, you said it best. Like, what could have been? There was an interview I was watching. I can't remember with who, but it was somebody. It was one of the dudes that was kind of running with them at the time, and his overarching question to the Kim and Foxy not getting along was, what happened? Like, what? Y'all were fine.
And nobody has a definitive answer because there was really nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There was really nothing to it except probably a man.
Probably a man.
Probably a dude. And when it reminds me of this tweet, think about the messiest person you know. And it's a dude, isn't it? It's a dude. I guarantee you it was somebody that was playing, and I don't want to name names, but somebody played in both of their faces at the same time and was like, at one point, this person was in their videos, dancing along with them, sneak dissing on their records, and then he showed up in the other one's video.
I wonder who.
You all fill in the blanks there. You know who we're talking about. But I have to believe that was something that was purposefully done between those women, and now it's probably something that was Carlton for the win in the chat. But it was probably one of those instances. It's just unfixable now. I just don't think that there's any salvaging that at this point. People were talking about them doing a versus together. I just don't see it.
I can't see it either.
Especially after everything that happened at Hot 97 back in, what was that, 99, 2000?
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. So we're talking about careers and albums. Broken Silence, which was her last release on Def Jam, critically acclaimed from start to finish, top to bottom. Awesome album.
Yep.
But I do say that 9/11, I really do believe that 9/11 had an effect on the way that album stalled because she was able to do like 106 in Park And then, a few weeks before the album was supposed to drop, then unfortunately our country went through that tragedy, and it had an effect on everybody's records that was coming out at that time, because I think Ludacris might have had a joint coming out at that time. And Def Jam was really heavy about their rollouts in the album, and they could not support the album the way they could have. And so I think that really was like another nail in her coffin of a career.
Yeah, so first of all, Joshua just made a really funny quip of why two female rappers got to get along. Let them beef like dudes.
Hey. But to that point, Joshua, if you notice, even the dudes, after years of beef, have been able to get back.
They do
and dap it up and get money. Look at Jeezy and Gucci Mane was actually able to do a verses together.
Yep.
And one of them allegedly had somebody else's friend killed. So
yeah, it's a lot.
Go ahead.
I will say, and this is my hope. If Foxy, if you are watching Q Points, if you are watching or listening to Q Points, however you're taking it in, because we do all of that, yo, I don't need you to do new stuff. We good with the material that you have. We want to see you and make sure that we love you. And you can still do shows, baby. Like, let's figure that out. That's all I want to say.
Well, we also got to hold space for the fact that she had health problems.
We do have to hold space for that.
I think it was in 2006 that she went public with her sudden deafness.
Yeah.
And we witnessed so many videos online of her, trying to perform after regaining some of her hearing back, and something just did not jive right with the performances. And so, I don't know. She showed up on Nas's most recent album.
Yep.
The King's Disease.
Yep.
She sounded pretty decent to me on that.
Yeah.
I think the momentum really got lost when, I think it had to have been like 2002, 2003. She had been teasing about Il Nana 2, The Fever.
Yeah.
Coming out on Def Jam. She was supposed to be on Def Jam again. I really think if that album came out, that it really would have propelled her back to stardom, because all the tracks got leaked at some point.
Yeah.
And it was dope. It was a dope album. If you've heard Il Nana 2, The Fever, if you've heard songs from that album, drop something in the chat and let us know what you thought about it, because it really could have been dope. As a lot of other albums that never saw the light of day.
This is the perfect segue to really spend some time talking about. So we're going to talk about a couple of things in this segment. We want to talk about an album that never saw the light of day. It never really got out of concept phase. It was a little bit done. And then we want to talk about some records that didn't make it to the States. And so let's talk about the first person we want to talk about, the amazing Black Thought. We'll just go there first.
Wow.
Absolute legend. Lead MC of the Roots. All of y'all know that. He's now, of course, on Jimmy Fallon, and he's about to be on Broadway. Black Thought is literally making all the money like at this point.
I'm not mad at it.
Nobody's mad at it. And one of the things, so in 2000, y'all, Black Thought, this is after the Roots had done Things Fall Apart. They were big as everything happening, because You Got Me was a huge hit. And so he's like, listen, I'm gonna finally do a solo record. Great. So everybody is waiting for the solo record, which is called Masterpiece Theater, which is the perfect name for, I was like, oh, this is a Black Thought album. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you call a Black Thought album anything else? And so there was a teaser track, Hardware. I'm gonna put it in the chat. And listen, he was really going hard working on this record. From what I understand, I read a piece, an interview that Questlove did. This is a long time ago now, probably like more than a decade. And they were talking about phrenology. It was probably like 2009, because they were like celebrating like 10 years of phrenology. I'm sorry, 2002. So it's probably 2012. 10 years of phrenology or whatever. And he was like, well, at the time that we had to do phrenology, Thought was working on his solo joint, but our manager was like, y'all got to have a record done in this time. And apparently their manager, he's since passed on, but was really like a stickler for y'all got to turn in the record by this time. And I think it kind of derailed some of the things that Black Thought was working on with his album. And in fact, so what ended up happening with Masterpiece Theater is there was never a Masterpiece Theater. We didn't get Black Thought solo stuff until 2018. But what they ended up doing was taking some of the tracks from that era, and it morphed into Phrenology, what ended up becoming the Roots 2002 release Phrenology. But an album that started in concept was promoted because, back then you got in a magazine and said, my record is coming out. The most infamous drop of a record that never happened, Queens Represent by the album When I Drop It. That was Large Professor on a Tribe Called Quest Midnight Marauders album, and the LP never came out. That's what I'm saying? So Masterpiece Theater was a record that I dreamed about for years. We, of course, never got it, which was fine. But we did get Phrenology, and now we get Black Thought Broadway, which is amazing. So it worked out for Black Thought.
and you get them 5 nights a week on Jimmy Fallon, too.
Right.
So, I mean, what more could you want?
Right.
I think another album that comes to mind that was really sought after, but for whatever reason, the labels, it's a lot of the labels have this issue. Amerie, her third album, Because I Love It.
Yes.
Never had like an official domestic release.
Mm-mm.
And to this day, and it's one of those albums like, okay, I can kind of, when I listen to it, I can kind of hear why, because I know labels, if they don't hear a single, if they don't hear something that will automatically take over radio, like a One Thing did, or Why Don't We Fall in Love, they automatically turn their backs on the project and put it on the shelf and never even look at it again. And Amerie, was starting to explore and explore with different sounds and whatnot. I liked it personally. There's a lot of dope gems on that album.
Yeah, Hate to Love It goes to me. I can also see how at that time, so Rich Harrison had been killing it for years by then, and it wasn't as strong as I didn't consider it as strong as her previous record. I didn't necessarily get why they just decided to not do it in the States at all. Because I thought Hate to Love You was great. And I can't remember there was another song, Take
What
Control of Me. That one.
That's What You Are. And Crush, the one that sounds like there's 2 of them that were actually my favorite. Like 3 songs on there that really resonated with me. But yeah, like you mentioned, like her relationship with Rich Harrison was kind of on the outs at that time too, and so that changed the producer, changing your sound. Unfortunately, radio programs people, videos program people to expect certain things, and if they don't get it, the public doesn't get it, then they turn their backs on it.
Oh man. Yep. One of those records that you had to import it to get it. I have my brother has it, but there's a copy around in the Cornegay clan somewhere.
There is always a copy. So it's Some Like It, Crush, and That's What You Are. Those are my 3 favorites on that album.
I'm going to pull the track list because Hate to Love It. I already said I Hate to Love It. Like that opening track, that joint right there, y'all just dropped. Listen, I wish we could play it and not get X'd out from Facebook.
Oh, we'll get flagged immediately.
Immediately.
Don't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So if we're gonna talk about albums that never saw the light of the day, stateside,
Woo.
we cannot not talk about Kelis's sophomore release,
Woo.
Wanderland. We cannot talk about that. I get so geeked thinking about this album because Shaniqua and I were working at HMV Record Store at Lenox Mall during this time period, and we all our mouths were just salivating waiting for the album. So back in the day, Super Tuesday was the day that all albums were being released, and we had written on the board in big bold records in big bold letters, Wanderland release September 2001. That didn't happen. That was like, okay, it got pushed back. We erased the date.
Things get pushed back. It's fine.
Things get pushed back. We changed the date, and it's like every week we're changing the date, and then finally the local reps of Virgin Records was just like, yeah, it's not coming out here, not stateside. We literally had to order that CD because HMV is an international store. We had distributors across the pond, and if people came in asking for it, they had to order it and import it.
Me,
yes, and I guarantee. How much was that album? It was about $30 when you got it.
Easy, $35-$40. Like, in fact, New York City's HMV used to carry an import section that was sick. New York Times Square's HMV's import section was sick, but yeah, that was an expensive joint. It was over $30 to get
$30.90.
Thank you, Shaniqua.
Listen. When you worked in retail, you knew how much the album cost with tax automatically. It was like beep 1604, beep 1604. Yeah, record store life. But yeah, that album. Okay, favorite joint off of Wanderland. J-Ray, go.
Ooh, you made my body go. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, track 2. Yes.
What is that called?
Oh, shoot. You make me come. It doesn't have a name that's related to anything that she's singing. I'm gonna pull it. Track this. It's the third official track because she has like an intro. Okay. Somebody tell me what track number 3 on Wanderland is because I can't remember. But that record. Okay, what's your favorite, Sir Daniel?
Oh, hands down, real easy.
Flashback. Daddy. Yes, that's it, Carlton. Daddy is dope.
Flashback. Yeah. Daddy had the slowest beat. Like it was gangster. She was totally rapping on it. And malicious from the Clips.
Now he's no Malice.
That album introduced us to the Clips. It introduced us to NERD. It introduced us to who else? Roscoe Goldchain.
Yep.
All of those rappers. That album, Nas was on the remix to Popular Thug.
Which was, oh my God, Popular Thug. That joint still goes. Okay, let me just say, all right? Wanderland, that's so weird that it didn't come out here because okay. Wanderland was weird. So when I finally got a chance to hear Nerd's first album, Wanderland made a lot of sense. I was like, oh, okay, I fully get where the Neptunes are in this moment. Wanderland and the first Nerd record are kind of like, they should be paired together in a lot of ways. So go back if y'all have an opportunity, because now Wanderland you can stream. It's finally available in the States. So go stream it and also listen to In Search Of by Nerd. They have a very similar energy and a very similar vibe going on. But Wanderland slapped. Like, that record was good.
And Kelis publicly said that, again, the record label, Virgin Records, did not get it. They didn't get it. They didn't get the vision, the rock fusion, because we weren't getting a lot of black girls, especially doing that rock fusion. But just a few years later down the line, you got a lot of girls doing that rock fusion with the wild hair, and Kelis did that first.
She did that
Basically,
first. Yep.
she did that first, and I still stand by that. Kelis did a lot of things that a lot of girls, a lot of people, period, not just black women, a lot of artists, period, are getting a lot of plug and a lot of props for doing that she was doing back in the late 90s.
Yep.
Yes, thank you,
Reese,
Shaniqua.
Cree Summer.
Cree Summer, Fiona. What's her
Who?
name?
Melanie Fiona.
No, not Melanie Fiona. The young black girl that did like a punk rock thing.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Fifi Dobson.
Yeah.
Fifi Dobson. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
her. So yeah, Kelis birthed all them girls. She birthed all those girls. But I have a if we're talking about our HMV days, I do have a great story about meeting Kelis and Nas together.
Of course.
Like this was the era when they were staying in Atlanta. They didn't live too far from Buckhead. And they would legit just come into the mall and just like shop like it was nothing, just hang out. They always looked like they always looked like they just finished having sex. They were just always leaning on each other and just pawing each other. They were totally young and in love, at that point. And I just remember her coming into the store and placing, and both of them came into the store. Nas stood at the register asking me to order him some stuff. And he wanted the movie The Secretary. Oh, I was like, oh yeah, the movie about S&M and bondage.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, yo, young guy, what you know about that? I will never forget him saying that to me. And Kelis was just as sweet and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even underdressed, super gorgeous. I mean, they just, Shaniqua, they would come to Lenox Mall all the time. That was just such a wonderful, wonderful time to be adjacent to the music industry and having, people like that in the zeitgeist and working and coming to the store. And Nas and Kelis, yes, thank you, Joshua, they had their own reality show, but that never aired.
That's
because
crazy.
They were all over.
That's crazy. Like, it was too boring. Like, I can't imagine. Maybe they were just kind of normal with it. It was like, we just regular in love. Like, well, then we learned about all the stuff that later, as Kelis was like, well, it wasn't all that.
It wasn't all that gravy. It wasn't all that good. It wasn't all that tasty. Get it?
I need a thing.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. But all this talk about Kelis leads up to my earworm of the week. Y'all ready for this? My earworm of the week is Kelis's Midnight Snacks. It came out last week at midnight. I love it. I think it's dope. Kelis is so happy in the place that she's in her life right now. She's got the whole bountiful brand that she's worked on, a lifestyle brand. She's a whole chef. She's a farmer, has her own farm. Like, she's got it going on. So the fact that this new song is food related is not a surprise, right? But it's dope. But the reason why it's an earworm, okay, if y'all have heard Midnight Snacks, tell me you're not having some confusion in with the chorus. Is she saying midnight snacks or is she saying midnight sex? It's the whole gold dress versus blue dress thing. Because if you ask different people, they're saying, oh yeah, she's saying midnight sex. Have you heard? What did you think, Jerry?
No, well, okay, because I read, it was funny. When I heard it, I heard midnight. I knew he was going to talk about midnight snacks. And so when I heard it, I was like, midnight snacks. I got to go back and listen and see if that's what I really heard. It's very much probably given Erotic City because, Prince sang one thing, but Sheila E. sang something different because she was like, I'm not singing what you singing. So I need to see what Kelis is saying. But I'm not sure. I heard Midnight Snacks. What did y'all? Shaniqua said Midnight Snatch.
Which, hey, why not? But yeah, it's a whole gold dress. Is the dress gold or is it blue? It depends on who's hearing it, who's listening to it at the time. But I really like the song. It's pretty dope. I'm glad to see her back. I can't wait to hear if it's going to be a full album after that. Who knows? But I really definitely like it.
No, I agree with you. Can we talk about the money that Google had to slide her though to do that
Listen,
opening? Listen to the opening of
listen,
that song. She talking to Google, y'all, and I'm like, oh, that didn't come cheap. That wasn't cheap. Like
at
Google
all.
wanted her to say that with that
Kelis is like,
Galaxy.
I'm a whole brand here. Let's work this out, Google. You want to be part of the Bounty and Full brand? Let's talk. And I'm happy for it because, like I said, Kelis is one of those artists where she kind of walked away from it too.
Yeah, she did.
After her marriage was her public marriage went bad, the divorce. The we still really don't know if she and like Pharrell and that relationship
We
with
don't
the
know.
nerve. We
Yep.
still really don't know what happened with that because that was a wonderful musical marriage. And Mama said, "You know what? I'm good." Remarried, got two more. Wait, is it
I
two
think it's
more or three?
I think it's just two children, but I'm not sure. I don't want
No,
to.
I think
Is it
it's
three?
three. She has a daughter now. Yeah, I
Oh,
believe
okay. Then it's
she's
three
got
then.
two sons and a daughter now. Is happy living on a farm, like I said. I say this all the time. Kelis won.
She did win. Listen, she was on the Netflix. You actually got me in. You was like, you need to watch the Netflix show where it was about the I can't remember what it's called, but it was they were cooking with weed, and she was one of the
Yes,
hosts, and very just squarely good. And I was like, oh yeah, she's in a good spot. She's able to do this.
a great spot. A great spot. Wow, I've really enjoyed going down. Talking about these people and raising their names up because I really don't think a lot of people speak about Kelis,
Yep.
Amerie, Foxy Brown, Tevin Campbell, Rosie
Rosie
Gaines.
Gaines.
People aren't really talking about them like they should be, but that's what Q Points is here for.
Absolutely. So what all of y'all need to do on this evening in 2021 is you need to go on over to qpoints.com and make sure that you get familiar. All of our old shows are there. You can find out where you can listen to the show because you should be listening to Q Points while you work. And you can check us out on Apple Podcasts. I'm going to put the links in the chat. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We are broadcasting on YouTube right now, but here on Facebook, I'm going to ask that you go on over to YouTube and subscribe and just stay up with us on social media. We are at Q Points on Instagram and at Q Show on Twitter. And if you're joining us on Facebook, go ahead and hit the like button or the follow button is really important. Make sure that you subscribe to us and become a Q Points insider. We have exclusive content. And like Sir Daniel said at the top of the show, there is more exclusive content on the way very soon. You need to be an insider.
Soon. Absolutely. So, J. Ray, what do I always say to the kids? In this life, you can either pick up the needle or you can let the music play. The choice is yours. Listen, I'm DJ Sir Daniel.
I'm J. Ray. Peace.
And we appreciate you for joining us for another episode of Q Points. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.